from me. Let's think about this logically. Now, if we really look at it, if slavery, Jim Crow, KKK, all the different things that happen to black people, let's say it happened to Asian people, okay? Let's just say that as an example, that slavery happened to Asian people. Would there be Hebrew Israelites? Would there be 5%ers? Would there be Nation of Islam? Would there be all these other religions that are within the, some religions, the majority of them are cults in the black community? If slavery never happened to black people, Hebrew Israelites would not have any type of foundation. It would just be quicksand, and which it is quicksand, because the only basis of why the Hebrew Israelites believe what they believe and do what they do is because of slavery. So if slavery never would have happened, they wouldn't have a religion.
All right, Shalom.
Hosea 4 verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children. I want to start by giving all the praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushai Ba'ashem, Rarakhakwadash, Rabahab Wa, Halal Wa, Kabad, La Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushai Ba'ashem, Chakwadash. Double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone who tell us this truth, and much love, greetings, and salutations to the hopeful elect tabernacle of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And Jake, boy, oh boy, Jake, man. See, it's a reason why the Lord called his people peculiar. And when you use that term towards Jake, it can be in a good sense and in a negative sense. You know, what made Jake peculiar in the eyes of the Heavenly Father was that he set them apart, made them special to himself. He chose and established the inheritance for these people, a land, the best land on earth. He appointed that land to him. He set the bounds according to these said people. Gave them laws, statutes, judgments that will make them very wise, that even other nations would even consider that, hey, this is a wise and understanding people who have, the king of the universe so nigh unto them. But you can apply the term peculiar to them in a negative sense, because when you actually look it up, it means to be strange. It means to be odd, weird. And Jake is definitely odd. They're very strange. They're very weird people, because these are the Lord's chosen people here. These are the people who the Lord made continual covenants with. These are people who the Lord performed supernatural, miraculous things for in the sight of the world. The Lord did so much towards these people, and look at how they talk. Jake is gone, and it seemed like no matter what, Jake won't get it through their head. And we tell them anyway. But the Lord warned us that, hey, go and speak to these people, even though they're a rebellious house. Let me get real quick. Ezekiel 12. Ezekiel 12 and 1, it says, the word of the Lord also came unto me, saying, Son of man, thou dwellest in the midst of a rebellious house, which have eyes to see and see not. They have ears to hear and hear not, for they are a rebellious house. Yeah, Jake is special, man. All right, all the evidence, all the history, it points to us being these said people. And even in their actions is proving it. He's showing right there with this little video that he made that he's an Israelite because this guy has that spirit of rebellion. He's stiff necked. And I wonder, did he actually study, why we believe what we believe? Has he gone into the text? Has he gone into the scriptures, the prophecies? Has he gone into the information? Has he, went into, the historical documents, the accounts? Has he went into the icons where you see, prior to the Renaissance? Because that's pretty much what he more than likely knows. If he went to Esau's full system, that's mainly what they're going to teach you. You're going to get, Renaissance art. Everything started with the so-called white man. You black man, you didn't have a history prior to them slave ships. Jake is totally ignorant, man, and you pay for it. All right, this type of mindset is why we're even in this predicament. Let's go to Isaiah 5:13. Hold up, blue letter be tripping sometimes, man. Let's go to Isaiah 5:13. Just because Jake want to continue to be ignorant, this is why we go through what we go through. Isaiah 5:13, it says, "Therefore my people are going into captivity because they have no knowledge, and their honorable men are famished, and their multitude dried up with thirst." Yeah, Jake is thirsty out here, man. Everything that Jake is into now, they're trying to find solutions in the wrong places and still finding themselves in the same bind, still in oppression, still at the bottom, still looked down upon. You still find yourself being, you know, left behind, so to speak, while these other nations, they get right past you. And guess what? That's contained in the curse. See, Jake want to say that because we went through slavery and the evil things that happened to us, that's the only foundation for our belief system and why we identify as being Israelites. Well, consider this. The Lord made a contract with these said people. And he said, if you keep this contract, you'll be blessed. None of these things that we went through, we wouldn't have had to go through it if we kept the contract. And what was in that contract? These laws, statutes, and judgments, these commandments, these laws, such as, keeping a beard on your face, not eating swine, not eating shellfish, not getting tattoos, not committing adultery, keeping a Sabbath day holy, not lying to one another, not stealing, not committing homosexuality, lesbianism, not committing murder. But we do those things as a nation. So he held us to that agreement. And let's go there real quick. And because of your ignorance, this is why you don't understand why we fall into these conditions. You got to be taught. You got to do your research, man. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 15. And it says, "But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee." All right, so basically, this is going to be the cause and effect if you breach this contract. If you breach this contract that I'm making with you as a nation of people, This is going to be the cause and effect. Cursed shalt thou be in the city. And we're predominantly in all major cities throughout the U.S. and in other parts of the world. All right, scattered throughout North, Central, South America, the Caribbean islands, everywhere we at. Third world impoverished conditions. Okay, with a poor economy, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. All right, and I'm not going to even read this whole list. That's for you to decide. But really, Jake is so stiff necked, they ain't going to even want to. That's why it says in Isaiah, that uh, uh, um, the ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but my people doeth not know, neither do they consider. All right, Jake ain't going to even take the time to, study into it. Jake just retort without getting the understanding. All right, here comes Satan right now, messing. Here we go. So that's Jake for you, and that's why they're destroyed as a people, man. All right, but let's jump down, jump through all these because these are all curses. And you wonder why we're oppressed. Deuteronomy 28 and 30. No, let me go down. I think it's further down. Is 45 and 46. It says, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes, and which he commanded thee, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. So this is how you would be able to identify these people, because these these cause and effect signs would be among them. These things will be happening to them, and they happen to us various times throughout history. But this isn't just what we go by. Okay, we have a great and powerful and royal history, but Jake hate themselves so much that they themselves don't believe that. This guy had the nerve to say that, we formed this identity based off of what we went through, and then he used the logic of, well, if the same thing happened to these other nations, would it be all these religions? Well, one, religion doesn't come from oppression and servitude. Religion stems from idolatry, and mythological ideologies. That's where religion stems from. It does not stem from people getting oppressed and enslaved and pressed down upon. That's not where religion comes from. It comes from idolatrous practice, in which comes mythological ideologies. And guess what? That's what happened to us as a result of the curse, because we didn't hearken unto the agreement, the covenant, the contract. One of those curses was, and let's jump down, Deuteronomy 28:64 says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. The Lord scattered us. He dispersed us amongst all these different countries, amongst these other nations of people. And what did we do? When we lived among them, we took on their practice and ideals. We took on their customs and learned their ways. All right. We wasn't keeping Easter and Christmas prior to being brought over here. We learned that from the slave masters. All right. All these different customs and practices that you learn here in America, your slave master taught that to you. but that wasn't your original uh, 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 custom according to your original heritage. And when we were scattered, what did we do? Let's go over to Jeremiah real quick. This is how we lost our way. All right, Jeremiah 17 and verse 4. And it says, "And thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For you have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever." We got the Lord that angry that he casted us out of his land, and we were all on a run, and we ended up being led captive into all nations, man, and we were made to serve as slaves. And over the course of time, spending centuries in that condition, we fell away. We fell away from our original customs and practices and heritage. Okay. Hell, when we was in Egypt, we learned, you know, uh, uh, idolatry up in there. You know, building golden calves and worshiping calves and stuff, man. All right. So this is what happened to us. It says, even wood and stone. Hey, Christianity, uh, 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 which really all of this comes from Catholicism, the Roman Catholic Church. All right. And guess what? Jake started it at first. Going back to the time of Constantine, that was Israelite. He the one that incorporated pagan idolatrous customs into Christianity. So he formed the Catholic Church. And then they also taught the Arabs, and they came up with the religion of Islam. I bet you didn't know that either. And he didn't do that because he was oppressed or he was in slavery. Jacob's just wicked like that. It says, "And among these nations thou shalt find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, a failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind." And this is what you experience as a so-called black man or a person of color in this country. You got to worry about being oppressed by law enforcement, by the police. Getting discriminated against. All right, but that alone doesn't make us a people. See, Jake think, and this is what they get incorrect. They mistake what we identify as if it's a movement. This is not a movement. Okay, this is not because we getting beat up by the police, we getting oppressed, we're getting unjustly locked up. So we're gonna be the Black Panther Party. This ain't what that is, man. This ain't the RBG movement. But that's what Jake think this is. No, this is a heritage. This is a bloodline. What makes us who we are is because of our history, because of prophecy. What the prophecies say what happened to these said people. Those are movements that Jake is talking about. In Islam, that's just a religion. To be a Hebrew Israelite, that's an actual identity. That's an actual nation, a bloodline, a seed line, a lineage. And did the Lord do away with those said people? No, he did not. They're being identified to this very day. But we were what? We were discontinued from our heritage and we fell away and we became dead spiritually dead as a people. The scriptures say in Proverbs 22 and 16, he that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead. All right. It was like we were dead for all this time because we didn't know who we were. But pursuant to Ezekiel, the 37th chapter, this is what would happen. Because right now, we're in the land of our captivity, and now we're remembering ourselves. Matter of fact, let's go there real quick. Let's go to Baruch 2. Let's go to Baruch chapter 2, and we're going to go down 2 and 30. It says, I'll start at 29. It says, if you will not hear my voice, surely this very great multitude shall be turned into a small number among the nations, where I will scatter them. All right, I will make you a minority. And that's what they call us, right? Even though we're really the majority, because we're as the sand of the sea. But compared to these other nations where we're scattered at, we are a minority, right? For I knew that they would not hear me because it is a stiff-necked people. Like this Jake right here, he's stiff-necked. It says, but in the land of their captivities they shall remember themselves, and that's what happened. It's been a great awakening, for the past, 5 decades or so. But we coming back to our senses, man. Now we're remembering who we are and why we're in these conditions. It says, and shall know that I am the Lord their power, for I will give them an heart and ears to hear, and they shall praise me in the land of their captivity and think upon my name, and return from their stiff neck and their wicked deeds. Now, when you was a nigga, when you identified as a black person or a black man, a black woman, okay, whether you was in a damn Christian church, jumping up and down over a pedophile murderer with blue eyes and stringy hair down his back, right? Or if you was in the northern tribes, and you bound down before a cracker version of Mary and a little Edomite baby Jesus, or you celebrating Dia de la Muerte. It says, for they shall remember the ways of their fathers which sinned before the Lord. Okay, and that's what we're calling to mind in this day. Why we're suffering to this very day is because of our sins, our transgressions, and we've forgotten the Heavenly Father. So the Lord cast us out of his sight, and this is what happened to us. And we are yet this day in our captivity, as it is written. But now that we're at the time where now that he's waking us up, the Lord's getting ready to have mercy and compassion upon us. And he's getting ready to deliver us, starting with his remnant, his elect. Because those are the only ones that's going to return back to him. The rest of our people, they trust in this man. They got Stockholm syndrome. All right, let's go real quick to Isaiah 10 and 20. And it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the remnant of Israel and such as are escaped of the house of Jacob shall no more again stay or lean upon him that smote them, and that's our oppressor, but shall stay upon the Lord, Yahweh, that's his true name, the Holy One of Israel in truth. All right. And that's who's returning unto him, that remnant, the elect. All right, with a whole heart. Because hey, we went astray, and now being returned, we seek him 10 times more. So we getting into our customs, we getting into our language, which our language is Hebrew. And the archaeology proves that, and the history proves that the Negro and the Latino of indigenous descent of North, Central, and South America in the Caribbean, they all spoke Hebrew. They all had customs similar to the practices of the Israelites. It's all historically documented. All right. And Jay act like, we just, because we went through so much and we're oppressed. Oh, so we're just gonna identify ourselves with the people in the Bible. No, we are a great people, man. It's the reason why we're still, despite, what we've been through, we still dominate. The Lord said, you are a special people. You're a peculiar treasure, man. And he said that back then in good, in a good sense. You dominate everything, man. You master everything. And there's times when even you try to, you know, uh, uh, build your own communities to be self uh, sovereign and sufficient. And but what would happen as a result? This devil would hate and sabotage that. So you got to know that there's something behind that, man. Because why are we the only people that get that type of treatment? The devil don't stop these other nations from being self sovereign. But why is it that we can't? Well, that's pursuing the Psalms 83. Psalms 83 and 1, it says, keep not thou silence, O power, hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. And they have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. Let's cut off that memory of them even being the children of Israel. That's why they gotta bombard us with all this plantation Christianity crap. That's why they gave us, gospel music, uh, 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 you know, Methodism, baptism, you know, Jehovah Witness, all these Christian denominations. This is why they gave us Black history. This is why they gave us Egyptology, which came from those small hats, who by the way is walking around with your identity. See, and that's another thing. It's ironic that he say this about us, right? That we wouldn't have nothing to stand on if it wasn't for slavery. But why won't you apply the same logic to those small hats over there? You wouldn't even dare. Because their whole, you know, the fact that the whole world identifies them as being Jews is based on one freaking event. In which, when you do the research on that, which, I don't want to go heavy into it because they might try to strike me, but come on, man. Based off of one event that happened during World War II in Auschwitz during Nazi Germany. All that had to happen, and they had the power and the wealth to control the information and the narrative around that, to where the whole world had to sympathize, and now they get all these billions of dollars every freaking year. And they get to walk around with a yarmulke on their head and a Shirley Temple hanging off the side of their face, and speak Yiddish, which is pretty much a Germanic, Slavic language mixed with a little bit of Hebrew in it, and the whole world identifies them as being the Lord's people. Why don't you apply these same talking points and these questions towards those people? But you're not going to do that. You're going to do it against your own. Jake is peculiar like that, man. Very odd, because you're the only people that hate yourself this much. But see, these nations helped with you thinking the way you do, because they cut off Jake's memory. All right, it says, For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. And in the first nation on the list, the tabernacle was of Edom, and that's the biblical nationality of the so-called European Caucasian race, who refer to themselves as white, which there was no such thing as uh, being white prior to 1681. Because there's no such thing as being white or black. Nobody's the skin color of white or black. This is their true identity, the Edomites. And the more you study and know who the Edomites are and what their purpose was, then you'd understand why all this hatred, all this hostility, why we have this such relationship with these people. It would answer a lot of unanswered things, but Jake chose to be ignorant. It says, and the Ishmaelites, which are the modern day Arabs, those Islamic Arabs, and they were also instrumental in your slavery too. It says of Moab, and that's the Chinese, and the Hagarenes, Gabal, and Ammon, that's the Japanese, and Amalek, and that's those small hats. These are your enemies. This is the reason why they prosper and succeed, and like the curse said, they shall get thee above thee very high, and thou shalt come down or be brought down very low. They have their own communities. They have their own economy. They have their own armies, militaries, languages. But you're not regarded amongst the nations, and that's also in the scripture too. Numbers 23 and 9. You will not be reckoned among the nations. That's why you're not represented in the UN, but they are. It says the Philistines with inhabitants of Tyre, Ashur also join with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. Salah. All right. So anyway, going to Ezekiel 37, it says the hand of the Lord, verse 1, the hand of the Lord was upon me and carried me out in the spirit of the Lord and set me down in the midst of the valley, which was full of bones, and caused me to pass by them round about. And behold, they were very many in the open valley, and lo, they were very dry. And this is the valley of the shadow of death. We're in that valley, and our people are very dry, man, because they have hewn out broken cisterns that can hold no water. So they're super dry. They're dead out there, man. This word is likened unto water, river of living water. Once you absorb these scriptures and understand it, then hey, this word will basically revive you, and that's what happened, and that's what sparked that great awakening. The Lord revived us because we were dead. It says, and he said unto me, Son of man, can these bones live? And I answered, O Lord, power, thou knowest. Again he said unto me, prophesy upon these bones, and say unto them, O ye dry bones, hear the word of the Lord. Hear the word of the Lord. Are you with this question? Thus saith the Lord power unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and you shall live. Now we got to get understanding, what is this breath? Well, let's go to in the Apocrypha Wisdom of Solomon, 7th chapter, and 24. It says, for wisdom, and what is our wisdom? These commandments. All right, the law and the prophets, knowing these things, knowing this information, that's our wisdom. It says, for wisdom is more moving than any motion. She passeth and goeth through all things by reason of her pureness. For she is the breath and power of the Most High, a pure influence flowing from the glory of the Almighty. Therefore can no defiled thing fall into her. For she is the brightness of the everlasting light, and unspotted mirror of the power of the Most High, and the image of his goodness. And being but one, she can do all things. And remaining in herself, she maketh all things new, and including this knowledge. Even though this knowledge is actually of old, the Lord declared all this from the beginning. He declared the end from the beginning. So at one point in time, these things were spoken of, and it waxed old. But now that is being refreshed in our minds because we're being stirred up by way of remembrance. Though we once knew these things, He's making it new. So that's why it seemed like this is new information, like this is some type of new thing. And it's not really new. It always been here, but we were dead to it. It says, in all ages entering into holy souls and maketh them friends of the Most High and prophets. And that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the prophets are back out there on the streets. And they're basically, giving you this knowledge, this wisdom. They're giving you the words. They're telling you these are the things that happen, and it was prophesied to happen. And we're seeing it. Okay? The truth that have been without fruit is now being declared. See? Second Ezra 6 and was that 19, 20? Let's go there real quick. I mean, it's way deeper, man. I don't know what the hell Jake think this is, man. But Jake has such a low mind here in this captivity. Second Ezra 6 and verse 18, it says, and it said, behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the affliction of Zion shall be fulfilled. The things that you were saying, the Jim Crow and the slavery, the oppression, the police brutality, those are all part of our afflictions, man. All right. What happened, with the northern tribes, Wounded Knee, the Trail of Tears. It says, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I shew these tokens. The book shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. And what books? What books is this talking about? Talking about the scriptures. We're reading the prophecies as they've been fulfilled and are being fulfilled, and that's why this truth is coming out and is reaching the whole world. So going back to Ezekiel 37, the Lord is causing this breath to enter into his people, starting with his elect, or his inspiration. He's inspiring us. It says, verse 5 again, it says, thus saith the Lord power unto these bones, behold, I will cause breath to enter into you, and you shall live. And I will lay sinews upon you, and will bring up flesh upon you. And this is our identity. We're getting our identity back. Now, we're not black, which is a color. We're not African American. That was coined by Jesse Jackson, in which he came out recently and said that he should have never came up with that. We were called Negroes, coloreds. Did you know that we were called Hebos before we were called Negroes? What is a Hebo? Is Jay gonna do that research? It says, and cover you with skin and put breath in you, and you shall live, and you shall know that I am the Lord. And that's what happened, man. The Lord prophesied by waking up certain men, and they was out there teaching. When we heard these words, and it pretty much activated us, man. It gave us breath, and that's when we came back to life. Now, fast forward, because we've been here in Babylon, and this is what the prophecy said would happen. Revelation 11 and verse 8. Those dry bones, those dead bodies, it says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, and this great city is talking about America, Babylon the Great, which spiritually is called Sodom, and you already know why. The alphabet soup crew got all the power here, damn near. So you know why this place is called spiritually Sodom and Egypt. Because what happened in Egypt? What was known to happen in Egypt? We were enslaved under the Egyptians. All right, we served hardcore bondage and servitude. But also in this same country, there's a lot of Egypt, um, Egyptian symbols everywhere. The obelisk, there's a lot of obelisk everywhere. You got pyramids. You got a river in Tennessee, the Mississippi River that passes through Memphis. Memphis is the name of a city in Egypt. You see, you got on the back of your dollar bill. So we're clearly in another Egypt. It says where also our Lord was crucified. He's constantly exed out in this country, man. The spirit of anti-Messiah is all throughout this place. This is why they speak evil of the Bible. All right, they put him in parodies. They uh, dismiss the truth about him. They say his color doesn't matter, or he didn't have a color, and all this stuff, man. They'll put him in drag, all type of stuff. He didn't exist. He was a fairy tale. You can't prove he lived. So he's crucified all every day. It says, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half. And that's for a period of time, 350 years to be exact. If you break it down in the spirit, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. They want to look upon us in our dead state. Going back to what I read in Psalms, the 83rd chapter, let us cut them off from being a nation. Let our eye look upon Zion. They love to see us in this estate, man. The men all feminine, emotional, can barely read, can't reason, tattoos all over their bodies. The women slutted and whored out, getting ran through by our enemies, broken households. Like, come on, man, we're dead as a people, man. Don't know who we are. We identify either as a color or a religion. It says, and they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry. Meaning what? They celebrate that, Jake is still ignorant, still in gross darkness. And as long as Jake is still in gross darkness and not returning back to Heavenly Father, they get to prosper. All right. It says, and shall send gifts one to another because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life, that breath that I read in Ezekiel the 37th chapter, from the Most High entered into them, and they stood upon their feet. And that's what you're seeing. That's why you're seeing Israelites spring forth all over the planet. That's why this thing is growing super and mightily fast. This is why you're seeing even celebrities say, "Oh, I'm an Israelite," because this knowledge, this breath, is encompassing the world. All right. So now we're standing up in great boldness, proclaiming our identity. Hey, basically, we've been revived. And this is what's scaring our enemies. This is what's scaring the powers that be, the globalists, the international bankers, the elites. They're seeing that we're standing back up. They know that basically that's their ass now because the Lord's getting ready to return. It says, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. All right. And it seemed like you Jakes are getting afraid too. This is not the time to be afraid, because the Lord's going to do miraculous things again. He did it of old. He did it in Egypt. Well, this is going to eclipse the Exodus out of Egypt. Is that Jeremiah 16 and 14? And it says, therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the Lord liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them. And I will bring them again into their land that I gave to their fathers, which is the land of Israel. All right. And we're going to live like kings and priests. We're going to live in royalty, because that was our history. We wasn't always just peasants and low lives, man. We had a powerful royal history. You look at those paintings from the Dark Ages, and you see who the prophets, King David, different kings, the apostles, even everybody is dark skinned with woolly hair. All right. So no, we don't just harp on what happened to us in slavery as the main foundation of why we're Israelites. All right. Stop being ignorant. So anyway, this is my response, to this video. This is why I stay away from TikTok. This kind of shit is this is the kind of shit you find all day on TikTok, man. That's why if I watch any TikTok videos, it's shared videos that brothers, share. Because there is some information on there. Some people got information, but you know, it's saturated with this kind of shit. People, speaking on the scriptures, speaking the things that they don't know. Just total ignorance, man. All right, the scriptures say, "Profess not the knowledge that thou hast not." So, and there's many more scriptures, man. A bunch of scriptures came to mind, but because of the time, I don't want to make it super long. But there was a lot of scriptures, man, that I could have just went into. But that was the point. I just wanted to do a response to that question. All right, the hell with these other nations, man. All right, we're who we are because prophecy says who we are, and the secular history and information backs it up. But that's why we teach faith. All right, Jake don't have no faith, man, and you seeing it. Let me get that, and I'll end off with that. Deuteronomy 32, I think is what, 21, 20. Deuteronomy 32 and 20 says, and he said, I will hide my face from them. I will see what their end shall be. For they are a very forward generation, children in whom is no faith. Jake don't have faith. It said that faith will be barren in these last days. So that's why all of these questions are just constantly coming out. We got to question this. We got to question that. Let's question the Bible. We got to question those Hebrew Israelites. Nobody else is being questioned, but only the Most High, His Word, and His men. Quite interesting, ain't it? But anyway, I'm gonna give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, double honors to the elder apostles of the great millstone, peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Shalom.